Buddy Alex Terrace here. I'm a wellness equipment researcher. So I'm the guy that advises wellness businesses, practitioners, and everyday people. You can contact me in my email address, best way, 7 days a week, right below in the description box. So I'm critiquing HigherDOSE's infrared mat. Why does it not show it here? God, stupid website. All right, infrared mat, infrared mat Pro, sorry. So this combination of infrared plus PEMF and something like this has been around a while. First, it started with infrared gemstone mats, and China had a couple factories that popped up, started to make white labels for so many different companies, including HigherDOSE. And you can find several other brands that are combining the two. But originally it was only infrared, and then they started to add in PEMF coils to these infrared mats as another option. Is it a good idea? Well, the truth is this. If you talk to any of these infrared PEMF combo companies, got to stop clicking on that thing, and you basically start to ask them like real in-depth questions about their PEMF, they will not answer them. They cannot answer them. So you could also even ask them questions that would be very concerning to you. Like, will I get cancer? You know, and in all seriousness, will this lead to, will this exacerbate my nervous condition? Like I have something going on with my nerves, and that could be a wide variety of conditions, right? Would it interfere with X, Y, and Z? It really actually doesn't matter what that kind of line of questioning is. The answer will be nothing. Well, they do answer you, but they're like, oh, we can't really advise on that, you know, or we can't really give you an answer. So if you want to kind of take your own long-term health into your hands as a bit of an experiment and see kind of what happens to you, then yeah, it's a great investment. You can get HigherDOSE, there's Healthy Line, there's other companies out there that are using terrible PEMF inside of their infrared mats. So that kind of critique I just gave you, that line of thinking is nothing new. I do have a very similar one to actually many PEMF, because a good majority of PEMF companies, so I'm talking now standalone PEMF, no infrared, they also, the big critique is majority of them, it's 95%, it's a lot. They don't have any studies, research on their actual brand. That's proving, one, it can achieve and give you health benefits, or two, not harm you. And you kind of want to know about both. Or you just want to at least be very, very clear as far as how exactly it's working, right? Moving on here. So if you got to dig a little bit, but the first thing you got to really want to look at here is product description, not that, text specification, sorry. The frequency range is 3 to 23 hertz. So first off, your red flag always is, okay, they just told me a frequency, 3 to 23 hertz. But what's the waveform? That's your first red flag. Literally, the fact that they do not have it in the description box right here, you just leave. Just leave the website. Just don't even bother investing in it. Why is it so important? Because you can't, it's already so difficult for any consumer to discern PEMF, okay, one brand from another. But like, you don't even have all the specs. Okay, so like, could be square wave, could be sine wave, could be trapezoidal. You get the idea. The waveform is just as important. I was tempted to say almost more important, but the waveform type is very, very important to know. And the reason that's not commonly talked about in the PEMF space is because sine waves and square waves, which are the most popular waveforms out there with PEMF category, those absolutely disturb the movement of ions. What type of ions? Any type of ions. So, I mean, so now we're starting to get seriously concerned. It's like, damn, like, what about like hydrogen ions? And what about like calcium ions? And like when you start to look into the fundamentals of these different types of ions, man, they play deep, deep, deep functional roles in all kinds of cellular processes and thus higher order functions. You don't want to screw around with that stuff. You know, hence why electrosmog is so bad too, right? Hold your cell phone right up to your brain, go for it. But we know exactly what that does to calcium ions and other things in the body. And that's exactly why it's so bad, because it does have an effect on that level. And that's a microwave band of frequency in my example, and also the waveform matters too. So it really both matters. So we really want to know that because, again, of what I just said. It's not talked about, obviously, in the PEMF space often, because usually people have an agenda to sell a PEMF that has square waves, right, or sine waves. And or the company has an agenda, obviously, to try to sell their own brand. So they're not going to tell you, like, you know, hey, square waves and sine waves. They move the ion, watch my mouse here on the right. They move the ion across the membrane or across whatever, some type of tissue or whatever it is. It moves the ion this way. And because it's equal on the other side, like a square or a sine, it pulls it back the equal amount of force, that electromotive force. That way, then that way, then that way, and that way, then that way. But look up any normal functions, research studies, whatever, in biology. What are ions supposed to do? To do all of their magic in the body, okay? Mainly, they should be going one direction. And then, well, let's just keep it, I was going to make that a little bit more complex. But generally, that's why you don't want square and sine. It scrambles, really, the ions. And so that directly, indirectly affects, hypothetically and really proven, just about any function in the body. So this is some like serious shit. Now, if you also have coils up and down your whole body and the PEMF passes through your body, which it absolutely will, which if you're doing the right things, that's a huge advantage. But if you're doing the wrong things, you could be sending this through every cell of your liver, every cell of your kidney, I mean, it just keeps going on. What happens to your brain? God, I don't want to think about it, right? Or maybe I can't even think about it anymore because I fried my brain on a HigherDOSE PEMF. But seriously, so what I just shared with you, you would be hard pressed to find people talking about it. So I do talk about another one of my YouTube videos. Maybe I'll put a link below about waveforms, PEMF waveforms. But so is sine or square waves like what is used with this? What's the thing that is it's okay for? It's okay to use square, according to studies, really. The ideal scenario is if you have a localized condition. See this line here? Chronic pain, reduce chronic pain. Okay, let's scroll down to the other things here. Minor muscle pain, minor joint pain, and bones. We should throw bones in here too. But generally, it's okay to use those waveforms if you're doing it in a localized manner. You're treating a localized area for a limited period of time. And I mean like the amount of sessions that you need to get a positive healing outcome, and then you're good, right? You're good and you don't need to use it anymore. That's how most of the studies are conducted, by the way. So yeah, can you absolutely, with a square and a sine, I'm not even going to talk about frequency, but just a square and a sine, can you address these things? Absolutely, for sure you can, yeah. And though, you'd want to do it in a localized area for like 2 to 4 weeks. And then be done. Maybe 6 weeks. And then be done. Or at least you should be done because it should have, if it's a good one, have helped your condition and now you don't need to use it anymore. That's ideally where square and sine is appropriate. That kind of application. But instead, how are people using it? Across their whole body, their entire body, and I mean everything, inside and out. Day in and day out, right? There's some people probably using this thing every day. Some people using it 4 days a week. For how long? Months, years. This is just unwise. This is a gray area. This is now an unofficial study, experiment to see what happens to people. I would not do something like that. Not on my whole body. I'm totally okay, and I even sell some PEMF that's square sine for localized short-term applications as I just described it, okay? Increase energy, and then you have to ask to back up claims. Increase energy. Okay, higher dose. With these frequencies right here, and sine waves, which is the waveform that they use, explain to me exactly how any of those will increase my energy. And also, let's just be clear for a second. You see, like, I'm so dissatisfied with this vague BS. Oh, and then they give you vague BS and they're like, $12.95, that's all it costs. It's like, hold on. Can we even just start to what does increase energy mean? You see how that's the first question that you need to ask, or whatever other company is selling it? Like, forget about the PMF for a second. Like, can you just break this down for me? Increase energy. What way? How are you going to do that? Let's start there. You see, does that make sense? Reduce chronic pain. There's many forms of pain. You may not know that. There's many forms of pain, varying causal factors, and chronic pain can become complex. So that's like another example. You might have some pain, but you have to address first, what was the cause of it? And hopefully you know. What type of pain is it? What type of tissues are involved? And you see what I'm saying? There's a lot to break down here. This may do nothing for you, or another PMF may do nothing for that. It all depends. So if they even broke down increased energy, then you're still never going to get an answer to your question, the next question, which would be like, if they said, oh, well, we're increasing this type of energy through this process metabolically in the body. They would never give you an answer like that, actually something specific. But hypothetically, if they did, then your next question is, prove it. Like, how is it doing that? Can you show me? So there's many ways you can increase your energy. One might be vasodilation. A lot of people have subpar microcirculation or just subpar circulation. Some people have sticky blood from many causes. Loss of zeta potential, possibly. Some people have low nitric oxide production. You see how we can keep going on and on and on. As far as that, they might have mitochondrial damage. They might have a sluggish electron transport chain. They might have systemic acidosis, such they have a buildup of protons, not enough electron reserve, electron flow. You keep going on and on. So when I start to name those things, you might perk up. You might be excited. You might be like, oh, this is interesting. This is getting interesting, right? It should be. And then the next thing should be, oh, well, nitric oxide, can we just hold, what about that for a second? Does this PMF help with that? You see what I'm saying? Simple, very simple. That's the type of question you want to know. Oh, okay, so yeah, it does this with the nitric oxide, thus then you end up having more energy. Got it, okay, all right, I'm following that. Well, that ain't I can save you the work. That ain't the case with this. If you were wondering, there's another PMF out there, and all those things I just listed to you is well proven over many studies and all kinds of crazy research, patents, and you name it. There is another PMF out there that actually does address all those things I just mentioned. But anyways, back to this. So now, let's get back to the frequencies again, because this is confusing. If you see the breakdown here, delta, theta, alpha, beta, it's almost like they're trying to produce brainwave entrainment. So you can research, right, if you want. They've been around for decades now, brainwave entrainment devices, things that can actually help you change your brainwave patterns. Okay, and these are according to an EEG. That's where we get these measurements from. But anyways, it's a PMF, but they're kind of trying to market it like it's going to change your brainwaves. Does that make sense? So when you're waking up in the morning or starting your day, you should be more of a beta dominant with some alphas starting to disappear. But if you enter a flow state and you're like really dialed in and focused, you might be somebody that's producing a little bit good balance of alpha with some beta, and maybe some high beta as well. And maybe even some gamma, okay, if you're a superhero. But basically, there's so many potential benefits in the body for so many different processes and functions in the body. But instead, they're going after changing brainwave states. But if you were like, Alex, well, actually, I love this idea of improving my concentration, or I love the idea of wakeful relaxation, mindfulness, and just whatever, chillaxing. I like that. Then I would say, listen, just work with brainwave entrainment, audio. One of the best, most well-researched companies has an app. It's called NewCalm. There's this absolutely the most researched, best developed brainwave entrainment that you can listen with some nice pair of headphones. Okay? And that you can just work directly and get way better outcomes. Way better for all these things. Absolutely. Transform your sleep with NewCalm. And then they're not the only company out there, but go focus on specifically a device developed with good research for brainwave entrainment. Does that make sense? Or heck, even like some types of vagal stimulators. Okay? Not trying to do it through pulsing the body with sine waves. Through PEMF. I'm not saying that doesn't do anything, but that's a very indirect route. And there are some very big differences between a true brainwave entrainment frequencies, audio-wise through the brain, or through bone conduction, through headphones, versus something like this. Now, I've been around the PEMF space long enough, okay, so I could tell you that I've tracked enough people and their usage with PEMF that might, for example, be producing 3 hertz and 7.8 and nothing else. They're very crude, simple devices, just like they include in this one, very basic. And they might be using that under their bed or right before bed. And for people with sleep disturbances, subpar sleep function, have I seen improvements? Yes, I have. So it's not surprising that if you pulse a frequency like this electromagnetically on the spine, the nervous system, where do you think that goes? Goes up the central nervous system and the vagus a little bit too, to the brain. And that could have a relaxing effect on somebody. Now, some people, though, they get hyperstimulated because it's a square wave or a sine wave, which is still going to happen. There is still a trade-off. There are still side effects, okay, to doing something like that, that type of waveform with these frequencies. But yeah, for sure, I have followed up with enough people over a long period of time where some people do get better sleep. Not everybody, but some people. What people tend to get, again, way better improved sleep or relaxation is doing an actual standalone brainwave entrainment sort of device. Now, there is also this incredible sleep mask that's new to the market that does actual neurofeedback and changes the audios while you're wearing it in the middle of the night. It monitors your brainwave. I've been dreaming about that, so, I guess pun intended, for a long time. So if you have a lot of sleep issues, just let me know. I've found all kinds of incredible products. You really have to pursue things separately like that. So would this mat be worth getting just for the improved sleep? No. Again, I'd have you spend a lot less money and get something designed specifically for addressing these brain waves, not addressing it through this HigherDOSE mat. It's not worth it. So again, you can spend a fraction of the price and just go after the brain directly. That would be way, way more recommended. See, now but you see how weird this is? Here I am doing a PEMF video, but we have to be talking about brainwave entrainment. Circadian biology is an appropriate topic, but the way that they have produced their specifications and settings here is more around trying to manipulate brainwaves. Now, when it comes to something like 7.8, I also want to clear up more bullshit, which you find all over the place with 7.8. And it's not just PEMF. There's some other devices out there too that you'll see out there. When they start to talk about mimics Earth's natural frequency for grounding, this is just very confusing. So let's first say something. If you want to get the health benefits of grounding yourself, get a grounding or earthing set of products. This is a type of material you'll have at your office desk with your feet on or under your arms, your wrists, okay? Or when you're sleeping underneath your mattress cover, but on top of it a little bit, but underneath your sheet. And all that's going to be connected, ideally, to a wire out your window into a metal rod in the ground. That's grounding. And that does have a lot of research on it and a lot of benefits. You can also get grounding shoes. Anyways, look into it. All totally legit. Great stuff. Great way to enhance sleep. Okay. That's actually grounding to Earth's natural frequencies, which is a lot of, all kinds of harmonics and complex geomagnetic frequencies. To even liken this equipment to really what the Earth's producing it's just stupid. It's just straight up stupid. And to say grounding is misleading. And that goes for any other company too. Unless it's an actual grounding or earthing company, which is different, okay? Is it a good thing to invest in, by the way, grounding, earthing stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just make sure you're truly grounding yourself. And most people, good chunk of people do notice results. Anyways, so see how confusing that is? So the 7.8, where they're really getting that from, you can actually look it up. It has to do with the atmosphere. So first off, it's not really as Earth oriented. It is, but it isn't. It's really an atmospheric thing that happens in a certain band of the atmosphere, a certain pocket that has to do with where lightning is striking. So anyways, I'm not going to get into why they say grounding, because this is likened to decades ago when astronauts, the space race, Russia, America, etc., and so on, was doing research on this frequency. Yeah, we wouldn't have to get into it. And what was mainly found, though, just a sidebar comment, what it really was helping with was bones. Okay, so it was really helping with bones. So if anything, if they want to be a little bit more true to research, what they should have put in here is great for bones. Instead they're like, oh, theta bands, your theta waves, and helping you ground. And they said, it's just say it's good for bones. That's at least the most accurate. Some of you might be like, I don't care. I don't care about bones. You see what I'm saying? So that's why it's not as interesting. If you start talking about grounding and you start to hear about grounding elsewhere in the health space, you're gonna be like, oh, that's so great. This is going to help me ground to the earth. No. Do not follow that line of thinking. So also when we get into 7.8, there was the crappy PEMF decades ago, looking at 7.8, and they were still having some findings. Okay, they're still seeing things, happen in the body. But back then it was like super basic. It was not great. That's still what they have in this PEMF. Where it got a little bit more complex and more effective was when we recognized that, hold on a second, if we really look at the Schumann frequencies, plural, I didn't say Schumann frequency, did I? It's Schumann frequencies, and it's complex in terms of the physics. If you want, look it up or find a YouTube video. This is what? What is this? 7.8 is a frequency, singular. So is it really representative of the Schumann frequencies? When you leave out all the rest of the harmonic frequencies, which are responsible as those interact with the core of the Earth and a whole bunch of other things too. It's ridiculously complex. In terms of the fields in and around Earth, is it going to produce the same effects? Truly, we're really removing ourselves quite far here when we're just producing some sine wave 7.8. That's far removed from really what's happening with Schumann frequencies, and then how those are interacting with, again, all the geomagnetic telluric currents of the Earth. So we're really almost getting in woo-woo territory here, and it's a little bit silly. Now, that's not to say, I'm not saying that 7.8, they weren't able to find anything with it. But I'm just kind of like poking holes in how ridiculous marketing presumptions are, and people just kind of go with it. But look up Schumann frequencies. Do a little bit of research. Look up Wikipedia, and you're going to be like, man, this is a little confusing. Oh yeah, and then it's going to be like, And then, but regardless, you're going to come back to this and you're going to be like, I just don't even see, I just can't even see how what I just read is going to correlate to this. Go, just do your own due diligence. You'll see what I mean. So yeah, if you're not really too concerned with bones, so there is some PMF out there that does nest a series of the harmonics involved in Schumann frequencies. And they are nesting it in a very specific type of waveform, not square or sine. And they're putting it within a bandwidth of 10,000 hertz, which is the full spectrum bandwidth that all the different signals and frequencies of the body oscillate to. That is in that other PMF, which I highly endorse. And you're just going to have to reach out to me to find out what it is. That other PMF, guess who was on the research project? Not just a twice Nobel Prize winner and some other very famous scientists, but Dr. Schumann himself, the guy that discovered Schumann frequencies, was also involved with this other PMF research project and brand. So you better believe they were using Schumann frequencies a little bit more appropriately with that PMF. You can never quite fully recreate what's actually happening between the atmosphere and the earth fields, but you can create something that gives some aspect of it. This is a far cry from, anyways, I'm going to move on. So anything else to talk about here? Not really. So if you guys have any sort of question, I'll just nitpick this one more thing here because I talk about this in another video. Accelerate post-workout recovery. Infrared definitely can do that. Infrared can increase energy. Infrared is great for all this stuff. Where does PMF fit into accelerate post-workout recovery? Now, again, I just want to harp on this point again because I don't want you guys to be buying and investing in things out there with very misleading companies that might use the term recovery. Many companies producing equipment use that term recovery to help sell their product. Don't let them get away with that. Recovery, according to exercise science, and there's a gajillion studies out there. So when we say recovery, it's not like, oh, well, wonder what that means, you know? No. There's a lot of very well-known conclusions from lots and lots of studies between biology and, I mean, you name it, okay? We know what recovery processes are metabolically in the body. We know. You can easily come across that information. Okay, so then the whole point is, what does accelerate post-workout recovery mean? There's many factors happening there. I'll give you an example. You're in a high inflammation state. Hopefully at some point your body goes parasympathetic and starts to quelch and manage that temporary inflammatory surge. Okay? Now, if you're don't have the resources or have other dysfunctions, let's just say, you might be overtraining, as an example, and be having too much now chronic inflammation. It's really complex, though, why chronic inflammation actually happens. But anyways, that's like one example. So is this going to interrupt or halt or help the body to regulate out of control cycles of chronic inflammation? Do you see? That's just one example. Is it going to help clear lactic acid in the body? I mean, there's a million different things that have to do function-wise with recovery. Recovery from illness, surgery, or a workout. Don't let companies just say it helps with recovery. Say exactly in what way. First, what aspect of recovery are you talking about? Tell me. Regarding that aspect of recovery, how does your PEMF, based on its specifications, how does it help with that specific thing? I'm constantly trying to educate consumers. That's how you have to structure your questions. That's how you don't spend $120,000 on an amortal chamber. You know, it really does cost that much. Wait, is it more than that? Maybe it's 150. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's up there. So that's like one example. Or don't, not spending $4,000. I mean, whatever the product is, you know what I mean? That's how you don't make that mistake. And when they come back to you with like, well, what you want to know, what specific recovery metabolic function? Oh yeah, I mean, it's supporting. It's just supporting it. Then you got a red flag. Okay, forget it. Doesn't matter unless the thing's like $20. And then take a chance, right? Maybe we'll notice something. But the issue with take a chance mentality too, even if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm pretty well off, I'll give it a shot. I just try things because I got the money. You can harm yourself. You can absolutely harm yourself to the extent of these companies don't have total clarity about how something is functioning. That means it can harm you too. That means they don't have clarity about if it's going to harm you or not. Don't take that chance. I rant about in my other PMF videos. There is information out there on what type of PMF specs are carcinogenic, that are forms of non-ionizing radiation that can damage your DNA. It's out there. Third-party organizations. And there's lots of companies that fall into that category, and they're selling their PMF. And they have big-name influencers, very intelligent practitioners and doctors using them. That's the situation that we're in here. Okay, so don't just be like, oh, $12.95. Well, look, I got the money out. That's like $2 for me. So I'm just gonna buy it and see if it works. Yeah, or maybe you get cancer. I don't know. Or maybe you're saying I wouldn't take the chance just because you can. You really got to do more due diligence. And if you guys are overwhelmed, send me an email. So I'm not saying that you necessarily have to go do all this research yourself. You're welcome to just contact me anytime and say, oh, I was just looking at this and I was looking at that, or here's what the company responded back with and this is what they told me. Do you understand what this means? You can always run that stuff through AI if you prompt it properly, but it's still a little risky. And the reason why you don't always want to lean on AI research and you need to reach out to somebody like myself is because don't forget, guys, with the AI LLMs that are out there, the search platforms, they are strongly influenced by all the data that these AI have learned from on the internet. So for example, the information that is on this HigherDOSE website, is all of it 100% true? Do you see what I'm saying? Are they backing up everything with study citations and doctors weighing in or other types of practitioners or experts or whoever in whatever the fields they are, right? No. But if you have enough of a certain type of content making certain claims, the AI will actually start to consider it authoritative information. And it might also look at all the other infrared PEMF mat brands. And if they start to see consistencies between the brands, like Promote Sleep, as just one example, right? And they just start to see all of them are talking about Promote Sleep. And look, in total, there's 70 blog articles between all the companies talking about promoting sleep. What do you think the AI is going to conclude from that? See, this is one of the real downsides of it. Not to mention it could literally just make shit up and hallucinate if you don't prompt your question correct and or have the right follow-up question to do your due diligence and make sure it's not doing that. So be careful, because it could very well say, oh, HigherDOSE is, definitely the one to go with because of X, Y, and Z. And AI could easily tell you that and give you like 10 reasons. And you're like, oh my God, this is so, I'm totally convinced now. This is definitely the one to go with. AI gave me like 10 reasons. Hold on, slow your roll. It's a tough scenario. You still have to do your due diligence because of the way it's reaching its conclusions is partially, not always, false. But if you turn around and prompt it and was like, okay, what websites did you pull your conclusion from? Number one. And number two, in terms of Promote Sleep, did any of these websites and sources, did they actually prove in any type of research or studies or any wearable trackers or anything with a real objective third-party data that it was actually promoting sleep? and what aspect of sleep specifically. See, that's how you have to prompt and use an AI. An AI can be really a great tool, an LLM, but that's how you have to prompt. You have to prompt it with some very direct and do some follow-up questions. And that's when you see like, whoa, it comes back from like, HigherDOSE was the best combo mat for you to choose and blah, 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 if you got that. And then you prompt it with the right questions and it's like, oh, no, there's no proof that it promotes sleep. No. You're like, wait, what? You just told me like this is the one to buy. What are you talking about? Now it's saying like, no, actually, no, you're correct. There is actually, it may not actually do anything for you with your sleep. You're like, oh, okay. I guess I'm glad I asked those follow-up questions. So watch out. I just wanted to share that at the end of the video here because maybe there are some of you now like trying to do your research, you know, with these different types of products that are out there. You just have to be very, you understand now, just making sure that you keep on asking follow-up question after follow-up question, you know, and really try to get towards the proof, right, behind the recommendations that the AI LLM was giving you, or the agent. And then as long as you could do that, yeah, I mean, you're in a better spot for sure. And then based on those conclusions, you can also, again, just send them to me by email, fit4reviews@gmail.com. You see in the description. If you found this video helpful, and if you were frustrated with me teasing you about what I think is one of the best PEMF out there, don't worry. I will tell you. You just got to reach out, and I'll send you all the information. You can review it. Anyways, that's it for today's video.